Very Bad Wizards is a podcast with a philosopher, my dad, and a psychologist, Dave Pizarro, having an informal discussion about issues in science and ethics. Please note that the discussion contains bad words that I'm not allowed to say, and knowing my dad, some very inappropriate jokes.
I may have fucked my life up flatter than hammered shit, but I stand here before you today beholden to no human cocksucker.
The Cleveland boss has spoken. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Who are you? Who are you? A very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Good man. They think deep thoughts, and with no more brains than you have.
Pay no attention to that man.
Anybody can have a brain.
You're a very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Just a very bad wizard.
Welcome to Very Bad Wizards. I'm Tamler Summers from the University of Houston. Dave, Penn grads are shooting CEOs. Jesse Singal joined Blue Sky and caused a meltdown, and mysterious drones fill the New Jersey skies. Have we entered late
It's
capitalism?
very late. It's like 11:59 p.m. capitalism.
Totally.
When you said those three things together, you just get a sense of absurdity.
You do. You get the sense of just like we're cracking up and it's not going to get better. Like it's past the point.
You know that Billy Joel song, We Didn't Start the Fire?
Yeah.
Imagine that you just put like actual events from the last, 5 years into a song. People would think it was just like a parody song.
Right.
Like it was drones across New Jersey sky. Jesse Singal on Blue Sky.
Did you follow that story? I just learned of it today.
I only saw some of it, but I did see that like people were spreading like block lists of people who follow him. And I was like, oh God, man.
Anyway.
But that wasn't our topic for today.
That was not our topic. Our topic is drones attacking New Jersey. What do you probably think it's fine, right?
I don't know what to make of it, man.
Oh, really?
I haven't looked into it enough because I believe that there is a bit of mass hysteria going on where people are reporting normal airplanes as drones.
Yeah, and constellations too.
And constellations, right. And I've seen some videos where it's just clearly somebody moving their phone a lot, you know. But is it all that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's UFOs, but
I do think there's a lot of people just like drones have become this new thing. But yeah, like what would it be? If it's like, it's always could be like a military test of some kind. But New Jersey also, like if you're going to pick a state to do this, like people are already like thinking weird shit is going to happen, or Nevada or something, you know?
Right. I also
Mexico.
think that once this all started, I bet you drone operators are actually taking their drones up at night to like add
just to
the
fuck with people.
Yeah.
That's the late capitalism thing is like people view this as an opportunity to play like practical jokes on others, like
Right.
unsuspecting and maybe overly credulous people. Like let's just fuck with their minds, you know?
It's crazy. It's like when you think about how the world has changed. Like one photograph of like a piece of driftwood in Loch Ness for like 60 years had people believing in the Loch Ness monster, or like one picture of a guy in an ape suit, or one like 16 millimeter video. And just years and years of people being convinced. Now the cycle is so crazy quick, and like everybody has their cell phones, and like.
And you need more though. Like you need more than just like this hard to
Than just
make
that black and white blurry picture.
Yeah. But like it seems like these drones are providing more. You know, UFO sightings didn't used to just stay there for like a week.
Right. There's also just, I think, now that we have footage of drones being, have you seen, you know, those crazy camera footage of drones being used to drop bombs and kill people?
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, it's
That
terrible.
was Obama's specialty.
Yeah, but I'm talking like now in Ukraine and stuff, like the drones that float, not just the aerial ones that like drop bombs, but these are the ones that are just like go right up to a Russian soldier and they're like trying to run away.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
right. And that's just, it's touched a deep, I think, fear. Like that is a particularly desperate situation to find yourself in.
You just have this killer thing chasing you. So,
Oh, God. It is a horror movie. But yeah, I don't have firm opinions on it because I'm intellectually humble.
Oh, you took my segue. I was going to say your dismissal of the existence of the Loch Ness Monster and what was the other one? Oh, Yeti.
Bigfoot.
Your wife's a Bigfoot, isn't she, Gus?
I know a motherfucking Bigfoot when I see one. Don't bring a Bigfoot in my home, Gus, with my children. The bitch can't talk, she can't walk a flight of steps. She cannot walk steps. I bet she climbed the fuck out of a tree though, don't she, Gus?
This was going to be mine. A lack of intellectual humility.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. I
That's
didn't mean
all
to steal that from you. Yeah.
Okay, for the second segment, we are going to present for everybody an episode of The Ambulators.
The Ambulators.
Normally an episode-by-episode, scene-by-scene breakdown of the great TV series Deadwood, but in this that we are releasing for the world and not just for our beloved patrons, this is our awards ceremony, the AMBIES.
Yes. The AMBIES.
The AMBIES.
3 seasons of great performances.
Great quotes, great slurs.
Yeah. And we needed to share our love of this with the world.
Yeah, and maybe one day we'll share more of it. You never know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's what's coming up in the second segment. In the first segment, we thought we'd do, for you insane non-Deadwood watchers, something that's kind of in between an opening and a main segment. It's an Eon piece, which often is an opening segment material, but it's on something, but it's very good. It's a really good essay by Rachel Fraser, and it's on a concept that I don't know if we've talked about very much, but one that I think we think about a good deal, intellectual humility.
Yeah, I don't know if we've talked about it. I mean, we certainly mentioned it, but there's been, as Fraser points out, there's been like this sort of weird boon in interest about this in the last 10 years. Like, and I don't know if I guess it's been in philosophy, but definitely in psychology where people have started to try to measure it.
Yeah. Did you look at any of that material? I looked at one scale.
Yeah, I did. I didn't have it pulled up, but yeah. So you saw that you found the one scale.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, we don't have to make it about that. That's not what the essay is about. I think, as she says, there is something a little, if not contradictory, at least there's a tension between testing by self-report for how humble somebody is.
That's the big problem. Yeah. I was talking to my colleague Gord Pennycook here, who has done some work on it, showing that it basically doesn't predict anything that you might expect. And that's his take too. He's like, there's just this big irony. Like, if you ask people to rate how humble they are, you're not getting what you want.
Right. You might have to reverse code.
You're going to do some sort of super logarithmic transformation.
Yeah. So there's a couple things going on in this essay. Number one is just talking about, I think this is the main aspect of this essay, and it's what's the title?
Against Humility.
Against Humility. And so she is going to talk about why intellectual humility isn't always an epistemic virtue. But then there's also the question of virtue epistemology and its place there.
Yeah.
Should we talk for a second about virtue epistemology and then
I'd never heard the term before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sure.
I don't know a ton about it. I know a little bit about it. And it's like the easiest way to understand it, if you're familiar with virtue ethics versus a kind of act-based ethical system, is shifting your emphasis from having good epistemological procedures to put in place, like in the same way that you're like act-based ethical theories are focused on, okay, what you're facing an ethical decision, this one decision. What principle can you bring to it to tell you what to do? And virtue ethics is like, no, that gets too precise and narrow, and ethics isn't like that. What you have to do, and this starts with Aristotle and Plato too, you have to develop virtues, moral virtues that will allow you to act in the way that it is appropriate in a given situation, be sensitive to the particulars that no general theory could ever account for, all the different messy ways that and choices that morality can face. So our best bet is to just develop good characters, and then we're going to be more likely to do the right thing in the right situation. But also, it's just a a way to a good life, is being a morally virtuous person. So similarly, like epistemology is always focused on, is this a justified belief? What makes it justified? Is it a case of knowledge? And the virtue epistemologists say, look, that'll all depend. Again, the thing to focus on is what are the intellectual virtues, the kinds of traits and dispositions that will allow you to, not without exception, but it will allow you to have a better sense of what's true and what's not, what's real and what's not, and when you should be agnostic. That's where virtue epistemology comes in. People use it as a way of solving the problem of induction by saying, a little bit similar to what you were saying, a full foundational justification for what we consider to be science or our sense of the world, that's not possible. And so we shouldn't expect it, and we shouldn't be worried about a skeptical claim that says that will have to be circular no matter what, because we're going to shift the focus to the intellectual virtues. And then that will tell us whether our scientific methods and our observational techniques are actually likely to give us knowledge or understanding. And people have also tried to use it to get around a Gettier problem, but that, in my view, is a pseudo problem, and so it doesn't need to be solved. But I don't know. I kind of like the idea of a virtue epistemology. I think people should focus on, do they have the proper epistemic traits or dispositions that will allow them to handle the very incomplete evidence that we get, and even to know what counts as evidence and what doesn't count as evidence. These are things that are part of your character. How can you assess them? How well can you assess them? And it does, I think, make more sense often to talk about that in terms of your virtues.
Yeah. She says this thing that was intriguing to me at the very beginning. At their most ambitious, the virtue epistemologist argues not just that such traits are valuable for their own sake, or that the exercise of such virtues will tend to yield knowledge, but further that our grasp of what knowledge is in the first place, parasitic on our understanding of such virtues.
That's what I mean, where that's trying to solve a question that I think is a pseudo question, like what knowledge is. Knowledge isn't anything,
right.
In my view.
Makes sense that you would believe that.
But I think she believes that, actually.
Yeah.
You find that out, I think, at the end. Although she's not explicit about it.
Yeah. And yeah, of course it makes sense. I guess I would have the same questions I have about virtue ethics, which is still there seems to be that there is content to the things that the virtuous person does that, if not principled, certainly capable of being stated in a way that is rule-like. But I don't know that we have to go there. But it still does make sense that when you do think about what it means to have intellectual humility, specifically, for instance, or any of the other virtues, you can't help but think of people, like examples, the people that you think really capture the essence of what it means to be, say, a good scientist or a good philosopher. Those really are the things that come to mind when I'm thinking about these things. So I think I've explicitly in my life tried to think to myself, what would so-and-so believe or say or do about this evidence or about this claim?
So if you do say that, that does show that you have some inclination towards the virtue ethicist or the virtue epistemologist, right?
Yeah, at least it's appealing to me psychologically. I think that it's hard not to think of these things outside of the example of a person who's doing them. And so I kind of like thinking of it in that way. I think that's how education works. I think that's how we learn from others. I think
totally.
Yeah, and it's a useful way of, I don't know, if I don't consciously know all of the explicit propositional rules for making good inferences, it's easier for me psychologically to think of how it would be that my master, my teacher would do it.
And she comes, at the end to, I think, a view that's also kind of critical of the virtue epistemologists. She doesn't think that there are going to be virtues that work in any kind of rule-like way, but I think she thinks that there's also going to be rules either, and it's an interesting point what you say about when you're confronted with something that you don't know how to think about, you look for models, but part of me thinks we're not looking for models in a way of trying to break down what is it that they have in them? What character traits do they have that I want to also have so I can approach things in that way, or at least some of the time. Some of the time we're just kind of absorbing the way they talk about something in a way that we would find it a little hard to describe if pressed, but we are just taking it in their way of approaching the facts or the pieces of the data that they have in front of them. I'm thinking especially of like texts, when people talk about texts or something like that. And I've been very influenced by just hearing people talk about texts in a way that I find, oh my God, that illuminates it so clearly. But if you asked me to figure out, like, what is it about these people or what is it about what they're doing, I would have a hard time describing it in any kind of general way. But I still sometimes feel like at my best, I'm absorbing it. I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what you're saying is sort of agnostic as to whether there are things that could be said that are explicit. Yeah.
Yes, right.
And that's why I say, like, psychologically, I feel the same way. Like, it's, you pick up things, you learn things that you may or may not be able to describe formally. But like for acting in the world, there's no need to describe them formally often.
Right. The fact that you can't describe them formally doesn't mean that they can't be described formally.
Right. Exactly.
Or that they're not there. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So then that's the first part of this. But the second part, which I think is more the central focus of the essay, is so let's just say we are virtue epistemologists. Like there's still the question of what are the intellectual virtues, and she says that kind of goes in and out like according to fashion, but one that's very fashionable right now is intellectual humility. So before we dive into her argument and the essay and the examples, which I think are good, what's your take on intellectual humility before like reading this or knowing that we were going to talk about it?
I struggle with it, man, because there is something that is so appealing to me about the notion that we should be intellectually humble. But it is always in tension. This is the nice thing that she's pointing out in this essay, is there's this tension between like, that seems super right? It seems as if what you want to do is never be so certain that you're arrogant and you lose sight of the possibility that you might be wrong. And so is that a general attitude or approach that we should hold? I don't know. Like, I think I have a take that I was working out after reading this essay. So I'll save it, I think, after discussing her arguments. But I'll just say that I'm pulled by the thought that as the opposite of arrogance, it seems right to me.
That it is a virtue.
That it's a virtue that we should inculcate in others.
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, I think it depends for sure. But like certainly I would say that I have been pulled more towards people who show intellectual humility. I have often invoked intellectual humility when speaking about things like the possibility of ghosts, and I think people who just dismiss that out of hand, and I think people who take an overly, materialist and especially reductionist materialist view, and, certainly that kind of new atheist typically doesn't exhibit, whether or not they're right about these things, they don't exhibit a lot of intellectual humility, which always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I think I am drawn to it, but I also agree with the author, and we'll talk about her cases, that there are times where intellectual humility is not what's called for. And in fact, it could be like a real problem.
You've just made me sort of explicitly realize this difference between us, which is that your go-to example of people who ring as not intellectually humble is the reductionist materialist new atheist. And for me, on the other hand, having been raised around a lot of dogmatic religious people, it's exactly the opposite, where it's like, it takes a lot of humility to accept that your religion might be wrong.
Yeah.
To even open yourself up to that possibility and think that the sciences might have answers that you thought were purely based on faith.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So I think there's a certain kind of person where, yes, of course, and I know that there are these religious fundamentalists, not saying your parents are like that, but there are these fundamentalists that claim to be certain. Bible is the literal truth of God, you're an idiot. Like my relatives used to make fun of me because I believed in Darwinism, oh, so we were monkeys once, okay. And whatever, but I was talking to a grad student the other day and something clicked for me. He also comes from a Southern Baptist kind of family, and he, went off. He never really bought it and is now, a total atheist and actually a listener of the show. So I hope I'm capturing this right. But I remember asking him, like, so your parents know what you believe. Do you like talk about it with them? Do you debate it with them? Like, how do they respond to the kind of normal critiques, especially of a kind of young earth kind of creationism? And he was saying that they don't, like, they just don't think about it, It might not even be an arrogance as much as, and this is the thing that kind of popped into my head, there are certain things that are open to question and that we're willing to question and can completely change our minds in ways that would change our lives. And then there are other things that we just don't do that with. Yeah. And I don't know if that's a matter of arrogance versus humility, as we probably all have these things. It's just we don't all have the same ones that are on or off the table for reassessing,
Yeah, maybe that's right. There definitely are people like that. I would say my parents aren't arrogant at all in that way. And my father particularly is that way. He just won't think about questioning. It's so obvious to him.
But is it because it's so obvious, or it's just that that's not in the realm of things that I'm going to...
I don't know. It's he just believes it so fully.
Yeah.
So if you tell him about evolution... He thinks, wow, it's crazy that people believe that.
Okay.
And then that's it, right? And that's it. The arrogance of the religious people that I was raised around often presents itself more as arrogance toward other people who have slightly different religious beliefs.
Yeah.
Where they don't even bother to tackle the atheist, because why bother?
Right.
It's more they really think that that's what the Bible is saying about Revelation. Ha! We know the truth.
Dumbasses.
Yeah, right.
No.
You think Revelation 13:7 refers to that? Yeah. It's the narcissism of small differences.
Yeah. I just thought it's kind of interesting that there are certain things, because the way my grad student was describing it, it's not even he thinks everybody else is crazy. He just he wouldn't get into that kind of thought process of, oh, these people are crazy. They believe something false, which it sounds like your dad is like. It's more questioning, do I actually breathe air or something like that? You're past that. And I don't know, I didn't really think too hard about it afterwards, but I wonder if there are certain things like that for us,
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. I just don't want to know them.
No, that's right. Because we want to be fully epistemically virtuous agents. That's how they talk, I'm almost sure. An intellectually virtuous agent. All right, should we go through this essay?
Yeah, because I'm curious to think especially what her central example.
Yeah, so, okay. Should we talk about that then? You want to give the example?
Yeah, so she talks about Simone de Beauvoir's mid-century masterpiece, The Mandarins, as this sort of way of describing these three different kinds of people. So this is right as World War II is coming to a close, and it's a group of left-wing intellectuals who encounter a former Soviet person, who says, hey, guess what? At its heart, the Soviet Union is doing terrible things.
Specifically, they're relying on a brutal system of forced labor camps.
Right. And so there's three characters who are very into socialism and want to believe that the Soviet regime is humanity's hope. And so this information, of course, goes counter to those beliefs.
Right. And you could kind of see it, right? Are these labor camps actually happening as that this guy George is describing? Or is this some kind of conspiracy? Or there's, is it just a false testimony of some kind that George heard? You could see how you would be in a position of not being sure what to think about it. But especially for Henri and Robert in this, it's they want to believe, like you said, that the Soviet Union is the last hope for humanity. This kind of communist way of life is something that will take us forward.
Yeah. Well, so one of them is convinced that the labor camps are real.
Yeah.
After
meeting
listening
George.
to George.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And he thinks the evidence is varied from many sources, and he can't, in good faith, really doubt it anymore.
Yeah.
And so he gives up. He says, in Russia, too, he thinks men were working other men to death.
Yeah.
Whereas Robert is I don't know, man. Hold your horses. Let's not be too hasty to come to a conclusion. We have so many good reasons to believe that this is a good system. we can't just let one guy come in and completely upend this.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you can think of this as like, are they updating their beliefs properly?
They're not updating their priors. Well,
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. And like her point is Henri is the hero of the story, or he deserves more praise. He couldn't arrive at certainty about it, but the evidence he judged was enough. Whereas Robert and Anne, under, I guess, I don't want to say the guise because it's not necessarily a guise or a pretense, but they said, look, we have to be agnostic about this because we really don't have enough evidence either way. So her point is, yeah, it's Henri that was the epistemically virtuous person here, or the overall, all things considered, virtuous person here. But she, I think, wants to say he showed not moral courage, but like intellectual courage in believing it, whereas Robert and Anne did not. So in this case, intellectual humility would be a vice, not a virtue.
Yeah. This is where it gets confusing to me. Like, I'm not sure. One of the things that she points out is that it's very hard not to be driven by an outcome bias, like who turned out to be right.
Yeah.
Feels like it feeds so much into which one you want to call virtuous, and that I think is true. But what is the intellectually humble person here?
Yeah.
Right. You can say Henri is saying, well, let's not be too hasty. And that sounds humble. But he could also be saying, I refuse to change my mind, which is not humble. So like, I'm not exactly sure.
Why would you say he was humble?
Henri is the one who believes that the labor camps are real.
Yeah.
Right? So I would say you could say he's humble because he's actually willing to discard a cherished belief based on evidence.
You mean the cherished belief being that the Soviet Union and Russian communism is actually something that's a force for good and wouldn't do that. Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. This is, I think, the problem with bringing in moral and political and ideological commitments into it.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue that Robert and Anne were just too certain arrogantly about the justness of the Soviet regime, that Henri was being intellectually humble. I think, I get what she's saying, though. So I think a lot of people, like when it comes to, say, Israel and Gaza, who don't want to take a stand against something that would make them really reassess a lot of their background beliefs, is they'll say, well, that region is really complicated and who knows, like, I don't want to pass moral judgment on Israel. I don't want to pass moral, I just want to, and that, I don't know, sometimes it's just an easy, convenient way to not opine on a provocative and very combustible subject, one that where a lot of people have a lot of strong feelings. And I think they actually sometimes it's strategic, but sometimes I think it is genuinely that they think I have to be humble here. And the issue is like, but haven't you seen enough? Like if you're really being honest here, haven't you seen enough? Or if you haven't, couldn't you just like confirm a couple things and then actually have an opinion? And so it does seem a little bit non-virtuous at times. I'm not saying like they have to do that. Like that's why that example kind of resonates with me as maybe intellectual humility in certain cases, especially morally charged or politically charged cases, isn't that much of a virtue. But I totally get your point. Like you could also say that's not the issue here. Is like it's more like honesty.
Yeah, like what you're saying is right. I mean, it's a concern I have with myself often, which is I, as you know, don't like to opine on things for which I know I have no expertise. And I think there are more people saying things before knowing shit than there are, people waiting patiently until they're sure. But am I being a coward, right? And that's the words that she uses. When is intellectual humility a mask for cowardice? Right. And that's certainly a concern I've had about myself. Like, if I were in a situation like Nazi Germany, would I have spoken out, or would I have said, let's just wait and see what this Adolf guy's plans are? Am I being a coward about it? And I don't know, maybe there is a difference in these moral realms than in just the purely like dispassionate scientific realm, but maybe not.
But even in those cases, you have stakes usually in whether something is true or not. Not always, but often, right? Like the I want to believe thing can apply to most, not just moral cases. I kind of think, though, what you're talking about, the thing that you're worried about, isn't that you have an excess of epistemic humility, the thing that you're worried about is cowardice versus courage.
Right. And the question, am I using the language of humility to mask cowardice?
But then that's not really about epistemic humility. That's about the kind of using it as a way to not face the questions that you'd rather not face.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good point. So I was left with thinking, so if we can't even make sense of in her central example, it's not clear to me which character is truly intellectually humble and which one isn't, or whether or not intellectual humility is really playing a role here.
Yeah.
Then maybe the concept itself isn't a very good one to use to evaluate somebody's epistemic character or whatever it is you call it.
Because it's so hard to isolate.
Yeah.
Is that more true of this than the moral virtues?
That's what I was trying to think. Like, is it like you could ask the same of courage, I suppose. Like, when is it courage and when is it, error?
But it's true that, like, it wouldn't be as easy to be like, I think this person was actually a coward. I think this person was actually courageous in a kind of paradigm case. Like, it wouldn't be as easy to just completely reverse the things,
right. Yeah,
I think it is in some cases with humility, because there's so many different dimensions of things that you have to consider in, like, an entire web of belief.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. But I think there are times, like, I think I'm clearly the more intellectually humble person when it comes to belief in the, non-material and ghosts and UFOs and things like that. And I think you would say you're too humble about these things, right? Like, we wouldn't disagree about the fact that I'm being, like, I'm not using it as a pose. I actually do feel like when it comes to these kinds of things, we don't understand the world well enough to rule things out in a way that other people seem more comfortable doing, right? And I agree that that's a question of whether that's virtuous or not, but it seems pretty clear, right? Like that's...
Well, that's why I'm not sure if humility is the right concept. Like and that's what I was struggling with. So it's like, okay, if you're less certain than I am about something, is that the same as humility?
Right.
So this is where I was landing at, where the way that I use the word humble, I think, to refer to people in a good way is usually not really coextensive with certainty. It's like, it's not the same thing as saying I'm less sure or I'm more sure, right. But rather a particular attitude that you take toward yourself and toward others. So let's move away from epistemic and go toward athletics. So there are arrogant athletes and there are humble athletes. And the humble athletes, I don't think, are any less certain that they're really good. So like, take two superstars who are at the top of their game. And if you ask them, like, God's honest truth, lie detector here, are you capable of taking anybody in the NBA one-on-one? Yeah. Both of them say yeah. One of them, though, acts in an arrogant fashion toward others. So he talks a lot of trash, lets people know that he thinks he can take them. He says he's the greatest of all time, all these things. And the other one is just as a matter of acting toward other people, does not display this.
Yeah.
I think that's the way that I find the virtue of humility playing out. Like, I like it as a way of dealing with other people and maybe as a way of saying, look, I believe I'm the best, but that doesn't make me a better person or whatever the case may be. Do you see that?
I do, but I'm not sure that applies as easily in the case of intellectual humility, just because there is this output that is separate from how you're treating other people, which is just what do you take to be true and being more agnostic about it.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. Like, I think that when you talk about an intellectually humble person, we might actually be using it the same way as we're using it in athletes. And that what we're getting at is somebody who really listens to other people when they're objecting. But they might be just as likely to disagree and say, well, I appreciate your position on this. I think the evidence is clear.
Yeah.
Versus somebody who says, like, I can't believe you would believe
You're
that.
an
It's
idiot.
like fucking absurd.
Yeah.
Right? Where the certainty is the same, but it's just like, I don't know. I think humility really to me is a social virtue.
Right.
Rather than one.
I see what you're saying. Like, even the New Atheist is a good example of this in that, like, if they privately believed some of the things that they believe and they publicized, like, I don't think anyone would have had a problem with it. People are always kind of atheist on the spectrum and have various different, but it was just how they talked about it and how they treated it and ridiculed it that I think rubbed people the wrong way and said, they show no intellectual humility. So that's part of it. But part of it also was the lack of doing any actual, broader, more open-minded research as to what it is they were attacking and stuff like that. And that is something that isn't ultimately related. I mean, it can be related to other people. Like they didn't talk to enough more sophisticated religious people.
Yeah, that's actually right. Yeah, right. And we've talked to Sam about this specifically, I think, before, on the podcast when we were talking about mockery.
Yeah.
And he made the case that sometimes mockery actually does some real good, that it serves to show how absurd somebody's position is.
Yeah.
And I actually think that that's where a lot of these types went wrong, where if you had a real conversation with, say, a respected thinker of a particular
church of
religious persuasion, you could say that's interesting. You know where I come from. I don't think that I would want evidence, but I can see why this means a lot to you. Even there, secretly, if in my heart I'm thinking, man, that's crazy to believe in the bearded man in the sky. But I don't say that. I actually treat people as if their views, maybe even thinking, let me understand why this person believes something that's so fundamentally different.
That I think
me.
is what you need. It's not just the treating them well, but thinking privately you're crazy.
No, it's the real trying to understand.
Yeah. So, I think we might agree. I do think there is a difference. Take you and I and our opinion about certain things, especially on the slightly more supernatural sides of things. I don't think either of us treat anybody badly. I mean, I take shit on Reddit and, an email and all that, but I don't think either of us are necessarily more or less socially treating each other in a way that kind of speaks to the dimension of humility that you're talking about. But there is a substantive difference between our stances on these things. Now, maybe that's just a result of we've been presented with different kinds of evidence. But I think at least part of it, but it may be a very small part, is due to probably our just general epistemological makeup, because it does seem to translate to these other areas where I'm more inclined to give some credence to what you people would call conspiracy theories. It seems like that same attitude does extend.
Yeah, there's where we do disagree, where I think that we just have different notions about which domains we should be open to. Yeah. Whereas I think you're pretty closed off to a lot of things in other domains. I think you have just as much vehement expression of disagreement. So if I have strong reason to not believe in UFOs because the evidence just isn't quite there, I'm just convinced there. To me, it's not I'm not humble enough to think that there's a bearded man in the sky.
Yeah.
In the same way that you're not I'm not humble enough to think that I might be wrong about this. We have just different rules about which domains we think we have firmness in our convictions.
Yeah.
Right? You probably have more firmness in your aesthetic convictions than I do. Right. You probably
Sometimes.
Truly believe that there are works of art that are great.
Yeah. I'm not humble about my belief that Interstellar isn't a good movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or that Marvel is there's actually really good reason to think that these are well-crafted movies.
It's like Homer. It's like the myths.
It's all Homer when you get down.
It is all Homer, and maybe even deeper, as we'll, I'm sure, be talking about quite soon. Actually, because it looks like the winner for our Patreon selected listener episode is going to be Joseph Campbell. So, no, I think you've convinced me. Actually, partly this is my epistemic humility in action, because I think I did think there was a more substantive difference, and I still think there might be, but it's a tinier percentage by a lot than when I started this conversation. She gives another case, which I think is interesting, and then we should wrap up, but of this Barbara McClintock who was a biologist that studied corn, and I didn't look at the details, so maybe you know the details, but the basic idea was everyone told her, no, this isn't going to be right, your weird theories about it, and she just ignored them all, stuck with it, and ended up winning a Nobel Prize. And there's a separate question of whether intellectual humility as a scientist is a good thing to have. And I think this is where, and she uses this almost as a reductio ad absurdum, it really breaks down as a way of saying, it is a virtue. Because I think, it's probably not a virtue earlier in your career. It's probably not a virtue depending on, what you're working on and who you're working with. And like you said, it would even be hard to figure out what the intellectually humble thing is in a lot of these cases. But I thought that was interesting. Her point was, here's a case where she had no epistemic humility, which I actually think seems right from the description, but that turned out to be a really good thing epistemologically.
Right. She was obstinate in her belief.
Yeah.
Again, this is where I was like, okay, but like that all her peers thought that she was crazy strikes me as a condemnation of their lack of intellectual humility as well, right? So it's like she's upping McClintock's obstinate belief in her own data, but you would think that the example could have easily just have been made for like the other clown scientists who were unwilling to think for a moment that their entrenched beliefs were right. Presumably the data were on her side. You know?
Well, we don't know because, like, it could have been.
Well,
lucky.
it turned out to be.
But it raises a question. So in this case, I bought that she was not being intellectually humble just because everyone else disagreed with her and she was one person. And so it seems like the intellectually humble thing would be like, what are the odds that I'm right and everybody else is wrong? And in that way, she wasn't humble. But this is the problem, I think, with seeing it purely at an individualist enterprise, right? Because probably it makes sense in certain contexts based on who you're collaborating with and what the state of the field is to take a hard line and see where it goes. And other times it's like, oh no, like I'm off base in this. Like, let me see where they're coming from. And this is her point too. She didn't make it like that, but like you can't tease these things apart in a way that you can have a recipe for an intellectually virtuous or an epistemically virtuous agent if you just practice these things, because they're going to need to be calibrated on and off depending on the context always.
For sure. But I think that there is the extra problem that the concept of intellectual humility is just unclear to me what it is and which way it goes. So the way that she describes McClintock, for instance, here she says, McClintock herself was insistent that her work required a kind of quiet certainty, that the judgments she made required complete confidence. And if the opposite of humility is arrogance, it doesn't sound like that's what she was. It makes me think, again, that sort of what we think of as humility is orthogonal to certainty.
She might just think, look, I got to take this to the end of the line, you know?
Yeah.
And I know they might think I'm crazy, but, you know, that's how scientific advances work.
She's like, let me keep my head down and keep working.
Yeah. So the way she describes it, she says, Barbara McClintock serves to illustrate a key dictum of Friedrich Nietzsche's psychology. And Beyond Good and Evil, Nietzsche argued that even our noblest impulses are thoroughly mingled with our darker, wickeder drives. McClintock's love of her corn plants and her egotism, her creativity and caustic obstinacy, all these form a cohesive whole. There's something facile in the attempt to split them off from each other, to hypostasize the good aspects of her character as separate from the bad. Like, I couldn't agree more with that.
I thought you would. I don't know enough about McClintock and her character, but I just thought, was she really an egotist? Like, what is the dark and wicked part of her character?
But you know, like the point is your greatest weakness is also often your strength. And, you know, maybe darker and wickeder is too strong, but like noblest and, you know, a lot less noble, you know?
Yeah, no, totally. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I do think like there's just no way, like, you know, there's a time. Like I do think you could probably be too intellectually humble as a scientist or researcher or philosopher or whatever when you're young. You know, you kind of do have to take shit to the end of the line, and you kind of do have to come in there with a false confidence. You know, I feel like have more intellectual humility than I did as a young grad student, but partly that was good in that environment, in that context, just to launch me writing about something, you know, because otherwise you're like, what the fuck am I going to say about free will that hasn't already been said? And like, why would I be right about this, you know?
No, that's totally true. I think I've brought this up like multiple times recently, but Orson Welles, when he was being asked like how at 25 years old he could make basically like a movie that was considered a masterpiece by anybody, he said it was the confidence of ignorance. Yeah. It was just plain old confidence of ignorance. Like I did not know that I could not do these things.
And he's a great example of his strengths, you know, his just utter supreme confidence that he was like a master director, and that like was also a weakness because he never was able to figure out how to match that with like a studio that would trust him to deliver a project that was successful for them. So we should do, like, one day maybe we'll talk about Orson Welles, but it's a pretty sad story about this genius who still was able to make a lot of really, really great movies, but that just the counter world where, you know, he could have been like Hitchcock or somebody and kind of worked it out.
And he ended up doing commercials for frozen peas.
And what was that wine that he used to do when we were kids?
He was just like drunk.
Fat and drunk. Like Del Monte. No.
Paul Masson.
Paul Masson. Yeah. Absolutely. But can I just read this last thing that I also was wanted to applaud? Intellectual humility then isn't a virtue because there are no intellectual virtues. There are traits that are sometimes conducive to knowledge and traits that are sometimes not. But there are no general rules about traits, about which traits are which, and so there is no way to classify for all times and temperaments our intellectual traits as good or bad. The search for intellectual virtues is the search for a rule book or recipe, a way to guarantee that we will find ourselves on the right side of truth. But when it comes to the intellectually good life, there are no such rule books or recipes. There is no method by which to guarantee against fake news or false confidence. Epistemological anxiety is as old as philosophy itself. It deserves a better rejoinder than the moralistic injunction to be humble.
That's such a great closing paragraph.
Good job, Rachel Fraser. I couldn't agree more. One thing I thought we might talk about, but we cannot, is, you know, this was a real question around the time of COVID. You know, like what the intellectually humble thing to do was, and certainly a lot of people were accusing your side of a lack of intellectual humility when it came to masks and the vaccine.
We were the McClintocks of the world.
Were you? But yeah, I don't want to rehash that, but like that might be one where it's still like you're right that it's not clear what the intellectually humble thing is. But when policy is at least being made, that is another element that you have to consider, which again is why you're not going to be able to figure out whether it's a virtue or not, even if you can pin down what it is.
Yeah. The right answer, unfortunately, can't be found, and I take it this is the point of the last paragraph. You can't find the right answers by looking for the people you think are humble.
Yeah.
Or arrogant.
Right. And more generally, we can't like say, here are the traits you should cultivate so that you will be the most likely to acquire knowledge, because it'll just depend on the context and like also your other parts of your personality. If McClintock wasn't like this caustic, fuck all of you kind of person, then that probably wouldn't have been a good thing for her.
Yeah, that's right. And that meshes with our experience, like at least my experiences. There are just different kinds of people. Like there are the kinds of people who really are like, fuck everybody else, I'm going to say this. And they like, were it not for that trait, they wouldn't have come up with their amazing views.
Yeah.
And there are people who just seem like so humble and open. And they also came up with like really great things. Like for every Messi, there's a Ronaldo, I guess is what I'm saying. And it's like unclear whether or not one is the better way of being.
Yeah. It really will depend on, you know, your other abilities and the context that you're in. All right. We have the exact right view of this paper and this issue.
It's crazy that we do. You know, you might think it's a coincidence, but it's not. It's our skill that allows us to home in.
And if you disagree, you're a dumb hillbilly fuck. And you shouldn't be allowed to vote anymore. All right. We'll be right back to talk about Deadwood and give out our AMBIES awards.
AMBIES. Welcome back to Very Bad Wizards. This is the time of the show where we like to take a moment to thank everybody for all their support. Tamler and I are doing it together this time. We really, really love hearing from you. If you want to get a hold of us, you can email us, verybadwizards@gmail.com. You can tweet or blue sky us at Tamler, at Peas, or at verybadwizards. You can go to our Reddit and engage in some conversation, dialogue, and argument with like-minded users at reddit.com/r/verybadwizards. Follow us on Instagram. And if you like us, take a moment to rate us on Apple Podcasts, maybe even leave us a review as like our holiday gift, our Hanukkah surprise.
Yes.
Give us a 5-star with some nice words.
That would be really nice.
You can listen to us on Spotify and subscribe to us, and you can even leave comments there.
I never see those. I need to look at those. Are they good?
Yeah, I think I only like recently activated them so that they were actually being posted. So, I think it's official.
Oh, and follow me on Letterboxd. I've lately been giving brief reviews and ratings to the movies I've been watching. So,
nice.
That's a good social media thing, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like a healthy.
It doesn't matter
one,
if Jesse's single is on it. Like nobody gives a shit. That's.
Wait, you follow him on Letterboxd?
No, I'm saying I don't know if he.
No, I'm kidding.
Am I canceled? No.
He gave Tangerine a really bad review.
Unfollow that because I love that movie. So, so then we have of course, if you want to support us in more tangible ways, you can buy some swag. That doesn't actually always support us. That actually kind of takes away money from us.
It sort of evens out.
So I guess the biggest way you can support us, where we don't actually lose money per mug, is if you go to our Patreon page and become one of our beloved patrons. We just put up the finalists for all the suggestions that all of our patrons gave us for our listener selected episode. Like I said, it's looking like Joseph Campbell might take this, but it's not over yet. I just put up the poll yesterday, I think. We have a couple changes that we've been mentioning. You want to talk about them together? The main one being that they are switching to a monthly subscription on Patreon for all, so we can't do this episode by episode thing, which is in itself not a big deal because we always do 2 episodes a month, and so it's always just double that per month.
Very predictable.
Yes. Yeah. So now, though, it'll be even more predictable because you'll just pay by the month.
So if you're in the $5 per episode, you'll be just paying $10 a month. $10, you'll be paying $20 a month, as you have been all along. The one change that we're going to make that's substantive is we're having a $5 tier. So the people who are the $2 and up per episode, that's just now going to be our base tier, and it's just $5 a month.
Yes, right. Are we keeping? No, we'll keep the $2 for, or are we not? Are we doing away with that for your beats?
We're changing everybody
for
in
your
the
beats. Well, okay, let's just not get into that. At that new $5 and up, which I think won't take effect until February at the earliest. So if you're right now, it'll just be $4 as you've been paying. So you get all of our bonus episode, all of the volumes of Dave's beats, and going forward, you will have access to our entire back catalog, not just of bonus episodes, but of main episodes, because
ad-free
back catalog. Soon that will be only for our patrons, and non-patrons will still get like the last 2 to 4 years of episodes. Like if it's 100, then it'll be it'll never be less than 50. We'll probably just start it at 100. Yeah. So you will still have the most recent 100 episodes, but if you want the back catalog after that, you will have to become a patron of ours. We are, of course, not doing ads, and this is one way we hope to at least get some of that money back, that BetterHelp money. Right. Yeah, and we love our patrons. I think it's a really great community. We love answering the questions and the AUAs. We'd like to, build that and make it thrive even more, offer more things. So stay tuned.
Yeah. And as always, we're looking for suggestions for things to do for like the summer months especially.
Yeah.
So I think we got plenty.
We got a lot.
But we're always open to it.
Yeah, and happy holidays to all Very Bad Wizards listeners and your families. And anything else to say?
No, just thank you. Gratitude.
So much gratitude.
Season of gratitude.
So much gratitude for this big community that we've been a part of. Next time, 300th episode.
300th.
Unbelievable.
Jesus Christ.
All right, let's get to the AMBIES. To the final episode of the Ambulators.
The Ambulators.
So normally David does that kind of low, the Ambulators, and then goes back to speaking in his normal voice, but not today.
This is what we're getting.
This is it. David's a little sick, but he is powering through. This is the final episode. This is the AMBIES.
The AMBIES. We need to insert award music here.
We have 11 categories. Some highlights: best side character, best scene, best use of profanity, best insult or slur, best anti-Semitic slur, best scene, best quote, best episode, best character other than Al. And, we may just come up with some new categories as we go.
As we go along.
Like best turn of phrase was definitely something I wish we had thought of, you know?
Yeah. Best EB quote alone.
Best EB quote, like I'm mad at us for not doing that.
Anything to do with language,
Yeah.
it's just an embarrassment of riches.
Mm-hmm. So this was a really fun project. I can't believe it's done.
I know. And we needed this for ourselves too. We needed like a
100%.
capstone episode to make sense of it all.
Absolutely. Make sense of it and just celebrate it, because we were pretty committed to going pretty closely scene by scene within the episodes. And now we can just celebrate. Yeah.
Can I ask you this broad question? It sounds kind of corny, but what does the show mean to you at this point?
That's a great question. What does it mean to me?
Yeah.
There always has been. I've probably seen it, except for the third season, which I've only seen twice. I've probably seen the other two, at least 4 times. There is always a kind of warmth that I felt watching the show. To have that feeling, when confronted with this incredible work of art and this writing that could only be done by a genius. Yeah. And there was a real emotional depth to the show in a way that maybe The Wire, as great as it is, and as much as you liked to hang out with those characters, for sure, there wasn't that feeling that, I don't know, that I always felt like a glow watching Deadwood. What about you?
No, totally. I mean, I was going to say that, almost use the same exact words about the warmth. And I like your comparison to The Wire. So if I'm comparing it to The Wire or The Sopranos, those are different. They're different beasts. And The Wire feels more like sociology to me, where there's more of an impersonal forces at work. Sopranos feels like a real in-depth character study of Tony and a very Freudian analysis of him. It's the theme that we always come back to here, is the community.
Yeah.
And the growing of the community from nothing, from Wild West, to a group of people who value each other, who care for each other, who look out for each other, and whose individual characters have grown because of that.
Yeah. And we often said, especially early on, it's a body, and it's a body that's growing and maturing, and it's under a lot of stress, and it gets sick, and it gets attacked, and it keeps bouncing back. What's your favorite thing about the show, would you say?
Oh, God, that might depend on what day you ask me. But the richness of the language, I think, has to be, it's a language that is beautiful, descriptive, and yet not pretentious. Because these are putting those amazing turns of phrases in characters that are just like ruffians, gangsters, prostitutes. Takes whatever uppityness out of them and makes us just appreciate the poetry of it. I don't know. I don't think there's anything like it.
I don't think there's anything remotely like it in that way. I think a long time ago, maybe for iTunes or something, when you first were signing us up and you had to give a description of the show, and you said that we had a marked inability to distinguish the sacred from the profane. I think that's true of us, and I think that's very true of Deadwood. You know, like the sacred and the profane, like they would come up in the same sentence.
Yeah, the head of the snake and the tail of the snake touching.
Yes. Yeah. Yep, exactly. You know, like denial of death, it reminded you that you were a creature and a beast and that you were going to die and you were going to suffer and you were going to roll around in the mud and eat shit. But it also had these yearnings for a kind of spiritual connection between people that, you know, something like the connection between Mr. Wu and Al. It's not supernatural, but it's spiritual.
Yeah, it's just that humanity can show its best under conditions like that.
And, you know, Al, the character Al Swearingen and the performance by Ian McShane, I just don't think there's, like, it can't be topped. It was so good and so interesting. And I just think that's the mountain that people can try to climb, but you can't get higher than it.
Yeah,
like, it's just kind of worked perfectly.
I don't think we ever even thought to criticize Ian McShane's performance on anything. It's not, he could do no wrong on this show.
Yeah, like he embodied that character, and I think that's true for all of them. You know, like you can't imagine Jane not being played by Robin Weigert. You know, like there's no way. Like that has to be Jane. Trixie is Paula Malcolmson.
Yeah,
you cannot imagine them being different. Like EB. If anybody else tried to play EB in some, you know, like remake of this, I would probably like break my new TV, which I love more than anything and any person in the world.
Agreed. Ellsworth, Jim Beaver.
Yeah, great.
Brad Dourif. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, Brad Dourif as the doc. Yeah. Okay, so
let's just dive in.
All right, so our first category is best side character. This was a show that just had so many beloved core characters, but then also a bunch of awesome side characters. We didn't really talk about how we were defining this.
No, we're going to have to do it as we go. And I don't think we said this, but we're going to pick a winner through consensus, right?
Yes, that's right. We each came with between 3 and 5 nominees, depending on the category, which was very hard to do, honestly.
So hard. I'm looking at my list now and can't believe who I omitted.
I know. Yeah.
Can I go with my first one? Because I think this one takes a discussion about whether he's a side character or not.
Okay.
Is Ellsworth a side character?
I consider him a main character.
Okay.
Here's how I defined side character. Either they were, maybe they would pop up for like a quick scene that they weren't central, but they weren't one of the central people that the narrative revolved around, or they were, but then they were gone after a few episodes, or they would take breaks, you know, like between times we'd see them. That's how I defined it.
Yeah. Okay. So should I just give you my list and you give me your list?
Yeah, let's do it like that. Yeah.
Okay. I think I have a clear favorite in this list, but I feel the need to mention these others. I love Silas. I think Titus Welliver, for some reason, just I like that guy.
We're watching Bosch now.
Oh, you are? Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
No Deadwood, but yeah.
Yeah.
He's cooler in Deadwood for some reason.
Yeah, he's cool. I think they could have done more with him. Like when the stories were more about him and Dan and that rivalry, it was actually really nice.
Yeah, it was, Eddie, Ricky Jay.
Interesting.
Who I love. I think that's just because I have a soft spot for Ricky Jay.
Yeah.
Ellsworth is off the board. So my true favorite, the titty licker. I'm just I had to put the titty licker in there. He brings something to the show. And I think my true pick here, not to jump the gun, but Wu.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Wu is our only overlap.
Okay, good.
Interestingly. Yeah. But I think you'll like some of my other ones. Commissioner Jerry. Probably not going to win, but he's great. Like I really love, and he has one of the best lines in the show. I didn't make my list of quotes, but like, you don't fuck the future fucks you. While he's in the cage, you know?
Yeah. The balls to talk shit.
Right.
While he's
he was both craven and somehow like brave, just by being such a kind of entitled asshole.
Right.
The general, I'm surprised he didn't make your list. Like his smile would light up. Yeah, you're racist.
I thought of him and then I forgot to put him on the list. Yeah, the general would have made my list. In fact, I'll take Ellsworth off because I have to. and put the general on my list.
Okay. Yeah. I have Jewel on there. Always fun. You know, you're also ableist.
Yeah.
You're anti-Pinkerton because you don't have Miss Isringhausen on the list. But she was great. Like when she was going toe to toe with Al, like there was not another person who could do that until Hearst, and like I would prefer Miss Isringhausen do it. And finally, again, surprised he didn't make your list. Maybe you think of him as a main character, but Richardson.
No, I don't think of him as main character. He didn't make my list.
Yeah.
He just didn't have enough lines, maybe.
I like you.
Thank you, Richardson.
You're pretty.
Well, I guess Wu didn't.
I don't know that he was a great foil for EB. He was they had a whole Shakespearean fool thing going on.
Yeah, he was necessary after a while for you. Yeah.
And then he just became kind of clever, and you never knew exactly to what extent his idiocy was kind of an act by the end. All right, so overlap, we have the general and Wu.
Did you feel strongly about your list? Anyone on your list? Was Richardson your top?
I mean, Richardson might have been my top, but it was very close between him and Wu and the general. I think the general was just like the world and the town and all the like forces were so against him, and he just couldn't. He didn't let that get him down. Like he had one of the best attitudes of life, and then just reading that this guy was actually kind of like a real guy that people, and that's how he called himself. And so I really like him. But part of me thinks Wu is the right choice because there's so many meaningful things that happen with Wu.
That's why I'm drawn to Wu a bit more, because Wu brings out something in the other characters.
Yeah, and Al.
Yeah, Al specifically.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so the first Ambie goes to Mr. Wu, played by
Keone Young.
Keone Young. So that's the first Ambie. Huge deal for Keone Young and Mr. Wu.
I feel like we should mail him something.
Definitely. We'll get our staff on.
Okay. We're jumping to best scene, right?
Yeah. This is a big one.
This is a big one.
Big one, and also just one where I like, is this the 3 best scenes that I think for real? I
have no idea. All right. Do you want me to go?
Let's do these one by one, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll start with my number 3, The Fight.
That is my number 3.
Yeah.
Okay. I figured we might both have that.
Yeah. Just an incredible depiction of a violent encounter that just will never leave my mind.
Yeah. It's so raw and it's so unromanticized. And there's a lot of drama. Like there's a lot of like twists and turns within it and back and forth. And then, Hearst not saying that Turner could kill Dan, just costing Turner.
Man, I remember watching it for the first time thinking, shit, Dan's gonna die. Like I was like, can't believe they're killing Dan. And then Dan's, the fallout with Dan being clearly fucked up about it for days, still in his greased up, just shitty clothes and greased up body.
And really Al being the only one to fully understand that because, Dan has like slit people's throats and but this was something different. This was more primal, you know?
Yeah.
And Al was the one who understood that and also just left him alone because nobody can, like, you're either going to come to terms with it or you're not going to. And that's something he had to do on his own. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was both of our number 3s. Okay.
Yeah.
You go.
You want to go to number 2?
Yes. My number 2 is EB scrubbing the floor and delivering his soliloquy.
I'll throw Farnham a token thief. Why should I reward EB with some small fractional participation in the claim? Or let him even lay by a little security and source of continuing income for his declining years? What's he ever done for me? Except let me terrify him every goddamn day of his life till the idea of bowel regularity is a full-on fucking hope. Not to mention ordering a man killed in one of EB's rooms. So every fucking free moment of his life, EB has to spend scrubbing the bloodstains off the goddamn floor. To keep from having to lower his rates. God damn that motherfucker.
That delivery, that whole thing by EB, as he's scrubbing the floor, as he's sweating, his hair is in his face, he's just truly grappling with his position in the camp, his worth as a human. What is he doing? It's just, as a standalone, you think if I were ever an actor and I had to choose a monologue to deliver, like, I might consider that one.
Yeah.
And I think it's EB's finest single performance.
Yeah, it's a great example of a character needing to talk to themselves.
Yeah.
But he has nothing, like to talk to, really. Like, he has the floor. Even Al will have the chief's head or something, That's what's so important about Richardson later, is that he has this sounding board. But I'm pretty sure that's before Richardson comes on the scene.
Yeah, I think so too.
It. Yeah.
And, he says the whole thing from Al's perspective. He's just being Al,
Yes. Yeah.
And he says, what's talking about EB? What's he ever done for me? Except let me terrify him every goddamn day of his life till the idea of bowel regularity is a full-on fucking hope. And the delivery of that line gets weaker as he says the sentence. It's so incredible.
That's a great one. It was definitely one that I considered. So the one that I had to put on, like the one that I remember like making me cry the first time I saw it and every subsequent time I saw it, it's when the Reverend this is in the episode Mr. Wu, so this is the 10th episode of season 1. He's already losing his mind. He's going to Al's bar and Al can't have him there. And then he just stops by the hardware store.
Yeah.
Reverend Smith.
Evening, sir. Evening.
Reverend.
I watched goods in the tent this structure replaced while Messrs. Bullock and Starr first took in the camp.
You sure did. What can we do for you, Reverend?
I'm in a quandary, gentlemen. Are you Mrs. Bullock and Starr?
In the flesh.
You are the absolute images of them, gentlemen. But what makes me afraid is I do not recognize you as my friends. And naturally, I am afraid.
What are you afraid of, sir?
I don't know what's happening to me. And I'm afraid if you are devils, which I don't believe you are, because you are the kindest men of all in the camp to me. But if you were devils, I suppose that would be the type of shape you would take. And if you are not devils, then I am simply losing my mind. And with my other ailments, I am concerned and afraid.
All right, Reverend. We're the people you met the night you watched our goods. I'm from Etobicoke, Ontario. I'm from Vienna, Austria.
Wonderful.
You're here with friends.
Yes, I feel that now. And I have various ailments of which we all suffer.
And next morning often finds us feeling better.
Yes. In any case, part of God's plan.
May we walk you back to your tent, sir?
An evening stroll with friends. I would so enjoy that.
Let's go then.
This is a great Saul thing, kind of just gets the sense, okay, I have to be here for him. I have to be available for him.
Yeah.
And then Seth says, you're here with friends. And then, the final thing, can we walk you back to your tent? And the Reverend says, and he's smiling and he feels a little relief for the first time. He says, an evening stroll with friends. I would so enjoy that. It's just... It's so beautiful. I think friendship is such a big theme of the first season, especially. And it was just like to give him this moment of warmth and grace in an otherwise kind of terrifying time for him and painful was just like, it's one of the Milch's best things that he did.
Amazing scene. Makes me cry every time too. Yep. I thought of it too. Etobicoke, Ontario. Yeah.
All right. What's your last one?
My last one is on that same theme. I was wondering whether this would be considered a scene, but it's the end of season 1, episode 12, and it's when Al finally brings some mercy to the Reverend, and we get a back and forth of the Doc praying on his knees, a Doc who's lost his faith, but just screaming out like the horrors that he saw.
Conceivable use of is his suffering to you, he's
and then he just starts saying, mommy, my legs,
Yeah, because he's remembering the war and his work in the war. Yeah.
And then meanwhile, Al is doing what needs to be done. And it captures Al so well. By the end of this season, we've seen Al be a terrible person. And then we see that he also has the strength to be a vessel of good that nobody else has the strength for. He'll get his hands dirty out of true compassion.
Yeah.
As we'll see from Al again.
Yeah. He says all right, brother, when he finally suffocates him and he dies, you can relax, essentially.
You can go now, brother.
And he also reminds him of his brother who had seizures. Apparently, we don't get the full story of that, but it's clear from what Al says that he had that. And it's just, it's a beautiful scene. And the Doc's performance there, that's Brad Dourif.
God.
My last one is actually a good kind of lead-in to what you're talking about, and it's from the episode right before that episode. We actually, the last 3 have been 10, 12, 11, the first season. The first season that was one of the things, looking back at this to try to come up with nominees, is, the first season was just
so
incredible.
Full of it, yeah.
Yeah, this is from Jules' Boot Was Made for Walking, and... it's the end. It's one of his blowjob monologues, but this time, we're finding out about his past, and it's a really hard scene to watch because he has Dolly there, and the story he tells and how he's treating Dolly. But I really think it's up there with his best acting on the show, which I think puts it up. It might be the best acted scene ever on TV. It's up there anyway. But this monologue that he gives.
Now I see what the fuck's in front of me, and I don't pretend it's something else. I was fucking her, and now I'm gonna fuck you if you don't piss me off or open your yap at the wrong fucking time. The only time you're supposed to open your yap is so I can put my fucking prick in it. Otherwise, you shut the fuck up. Now, hold on to that, huh? Point is, this minister's gotta fucking die. I mean, that's the fucking point. He's gonna die sooner or later. I mean, he's making a fucking jerk of himself. And I mean, why go on with that? Who's gonna benefit from that, huh? No, you just gotta kill it and put an end to it. You don't linger on about it. You don't fucking go around weeping about it. And you don't behave like a kid with a sore fucking thumb. Look, go sucking it. No, my poor fucking thumb. I mean, you gotta behave like a grown fucking man. You gotta shut the fuck up. Don't be sorry. Don't look fucking back because, believe me, no one gives a fuck. You understand?
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up, huh? Give me that. Did you know the orphanage part of the building you lived in, behind it, she ran a whorehouse, huh? Oh, so you knew. So what are you fucking looking at then, huh? Okay. Now I'll tell you something. you don't know. Before she ran a girls' orphanage, fat Mrs. fucking Anderson ran the boys' orphanage on fucking Euclid Avenue. Because I would see her fat ass waddling out the boys' dormitory at 5 o'clock in the fucking morning. Every fucking morning after she blew a stupid fucking cowbell and woke us all the fuck up. And my fucking mother dropped me the fuck off there with $7.60 some odd fucking cents on her way to sucking cock in Georgia.
So it starts out and he says, people don't see what's in front of them. They can't like just face it without lying to themselves. But he's not like that. The main thing at first here is that the Reverend has to die. Like he sees that and it's bugging him that nobody is even stepping up to admit to themselves that he has to die, like out of compassion for him. And then it transitions to the orphanage where he purchased Dolly, apparently, but also where he was when he was there 30 years earlier because his mother abandoned him there. And he was clearly abused there. We don't really find out much more than that, but he's so good. He gets so angry. And then after he finishes, he says to her,
Okay, go ahead and spit it out. You don't need to swallow. Just spit it out.
It was like, I just gave you my hate.
Yeah.
I don't like spit it out. Don't swallow it. You know, like I just gave you my hate, my like this little dark thing inside of me I gave to you. So it's like almost a note, even though can't support how he treats Dolly in that scene. Like he has enough presence of mind at the end to say, you know, I don't want like that going into you.
Yeah, incredible scene. I'll admit the reason it probably didn't make my list is because of the discomfort of Dolly, you know, just like it hurts to watch. But I completely agree with you that this is an incredible scene.
This was the Al, you know, the complexity of that character. Like you said, he could do the worst things and he could do the best things. And you get the sense when he went and got Dolly, it wasn't because she was going to be the hottest. Like he probably wanted to save her from that place, from that woman, the same woman that, the same thing with Jewel. And that's why some people are devoted to him, probably even Dolly, although I don't think we ever find out the details there. But it is kind of consonant with his character that, you know, he probably took her out of that and then treated her like shit.
And, you know, he killed somebody there.
Yeah.
12 hours before he picked up Dolly. So I don't know if we're supposed to believe that he killed the head of the whorehouse.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. No, because he paid her, he said, in the monologue. So maybe, who knows?
Well, I'm glad at least that we have this theme where my pick is Al doing the thing that need to be done, and your pick is Al telling us where his strength comes from and where his weakness comes from. So yeah, I'm good with this one.
You want to go with this one?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. And it's a good tribute to Ian McShane.
Yeah.
So the Ambie for best scene goes to Ian McShane and the actress who plays Dolly.
Al getting head.
Well, that wouldn't narrow it down.
That's true. All right. Best use of profanity?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was tough because like this is every episode you could pick like 10.
I know. Okay, so there's some repeated ones. So my first pick is almost every time Wu says cocksucker. I think Wu's saying cocksucker is just never going to leave my brain.
San Francisco cocksucker.
San Francisco to white cocksucker.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, this was very hard to do because it was hard to not fold it into like best quote.
Insults or quotes.
Yeah, turn of phrase. Like if it was turn of phrase, I might have done the comes true author.
Yeah.
Maybe that would come back. All right, so here's the best use of profanity. My first one. Charlie, talking to Walcott because he hates him. He thinks he's treated Joni badly. Oh, I see you've got your big fucking knife there and hid somewhere on your person. You've probably got some pussified shooting instrument. But I am good at first impressions, and you are a fucking cunt. And I doubt you've fought many men. Just like Charlie, when he was on a roll, could like some pussified shooting instrument, which he did in fact, I think, have.
Yeah,
is just beautiful.
Yeah, it was on my list. Yeah.
It was? That's on your list? That's hilarious.
Yeah, the pussified shooting instrument is so great. My next one, and I have 4 here, so I'll just put this one out there because it's also a repeated one every time. Maybe 3 times that Al refers to Trixie as loopy fucking cunt.
Yeah.
Because each time it means something else.
Yeah.
Something different.
100%. Yeah. Sometimes it's affectionate. Sometimes it's annoyed. It's annoyed.
It's
sometimes
angry at her for being not looking out for herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loopy fucking cunt. I have as my second one. This is just a great like Jane EB interaction from season 1. EB comes back. I'm sorry, Jane comes back. She had been staying at the inn, but she left. And EB doesn't want her kind in there. She's too dirty for his fancy inn.
I'm back.
Your room has been re-rented.
Fuck you and fuck the rooms you rent. I'm calling on the widow and the little one in her care. And if I was you, or any cocksucker with you, I wouldn't try to stop me.
Be brief.
Be fucked!
It's great.
It's a favorite. Yeah. All right, what do you got?
Those that doubt me suck cock by choice.
Yeah, I have this in a different category, but like it's totally good here. Yeah. Also, the line before that.
My bicycle masters boardwalk and quagmire with a plum. Those that doubt me suck cock by choice.
You know what? It does belong in best use of profanity because this is a Milch special to put like my bicycle masters boardwalk and quagmire with a plum, and then those that doubt me suck cock by choice. And then I just love the idea of it's by choice.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally. Like I'm not talking about anybody who got raped in prison. You know, like I'm saying you saw a cock and you went for it.
Yeah. I choose to suck that cock.
So good.
All right, that's a good one. That might win. All right, I have Wild Bill to Jack McCall.
Oh, that's my next one.
It's your next one? That drooped eye of yours looks like the hood of a cunt
to me, Jack. Oh,
yeah.
God.
When you talk yes. Yeah, no, you do it. You have the voice better.
When you talk, your mouth looks like a cunt moving.
Like, what's so great about that harsh. is it actually is true, like of how, like, you know, like I think this is part of the performance by Garrett Dillahunt. Like I think he did make his mouth look like kind of like a saggy cunt.
Oh my God, man.
The
it's
hood,
so good.
The drooped eye looks like the hood of a cunt.
And I love it because it is so harsh. It is effective at just fucking bringing someone down. It's not for comedic effect. It's Wild Bill at his worst, but bringing all of the talents he has to bear to bring another man down to like feel like a piece of shit.
But I think also to bring himself down, because I think he knows that it's only something like that bad will make him try to shoot me in the back. You know?
That's right.
All right. I did put this here, actually. Trixie talking to Ellsworth, this is about marrying Alma. And she's like, so the baby will seem like the issue of my loins? And Trixie says, as much as they care to see. So the comes true author ain't thrown in their fucking face, or the true author's wife's face, or the face of that little fucking boy. I mean, that's pretty good use of profanity. Yeah, Trixie, I feel like deserves to be on the list for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any other ones?
No.
I have one more.
Okay.
That I added because I got into a Miss Isringhausen little rabbit hole, and I just remember this. Alma kind of trying to big time her and accuse her once she knows there's something wrong, and even tries to slap her. And Miss Isringhausen's like, "Don't presume ever to strike me. Like, who do you mistake me for?" and Alma says, "I mistake you for no one, Miss Isringhausen, and I know you for a fact." And Miss Isringhausen says, "All right then, Mrs. Garrett, you've had your fit of temper. Get the fuck back to your room."
God, she was such a badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I feel like it's between, well, this is a tough one because I like Comes True Author.
Yeah.
I love Those That Doubt Me Suck Cock by Choice. I love the drooped eye, looks like the hood of a cunt.
Yeah.
This is a tough match. They should be like people doing like commentary.
Right. Neck and neck.
And then the Charlie one is good too. Pussified shooting. It's amazing that we had such.
I know.
Oh, and then Be Fucked.
Be fucked. Right.
What do you think?
We have to decide.
I'll go with Suck Cock by Choice.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's do that.
All right,
yeah.
all right. Hard one. Probably the hardest one for me to decide.
Super
there.
hard. You know what's funny is like I was thinking the Comes True Author. Does Trixie even think she's being profane? Like that might just be how she describes cum.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, she says a lot of fucks there, but that's not the point. It's the Comes True. Yeah, that one should be in best turn of phrase category that we didn't come up with.
Have. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Best insult slur.
For best insult / slur. So we had a little bit of a back and forth about whether it should be a slur because I kept to insult because it could include non sort of derogatory group based membership. So I love the exchange, and you probably remember that I loved it when Mose is trying to wake Jane up.
Get out of my fucking life!
It's me,
Who's me? The fucking Eclipse?
Mose Manuel.
Oh, really? I thought it was Giganto, the runaway circus elephant.
Miss Stubbs, been looking for you. Those kids need chaperoning to the new schoolhouse, Jane.
I cannot hear you, nor can I see you any longer.
Fucking Get up and walk them kids.
Okay, Giganto. Don't tusk me to death with your tusks.
Don't tusk me to death with your tusks. That could have been a episode title for that. Yeah. I went with more slurs. For this, although I have a couple insults at the end. But one of my favorite slurs is the dirt worshippers.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. If I was going for slurs, I would have included dirt worshippers. It's just so good. Yeah.
That's probably maybe my favorite.
And I was trying to decide whether celestial was a slur back then.
I know. I have that on my list though. So I have celestials for the. I don't even know if it's a slur. It's a very funny thing to call the Chinese people that are like. What's your next one?
My next one is, again, an insult. And I think it's my favorite of the insults. Could you have been born, Richardson, and not egg hatched as I've always assumed? Did your mother hover over you, snaggletooth and doting on as you now hover over me?
I have that in best quote. I feel like that should graduate to best quote. Like that's what it should be competing in those waters.
In those, okay.
Yeah.
And the only other insult I have, which is not that good, is when Utter tells Hearst, I guess someone looking hard could find you, peeking from under the covers to make a fucking threat. Only because it was so insulting. And it was so ballsy of Charlie to be insulting Hearst directly like that.
And very Charlie to do that too, because he doesn't care.
Yeah.
All right. I have, in addition to the Celestials and the Dirt Worshippers, to round out my slurs, squareheads. You remember that they
squareheads.
That they would call the like Scandinavians.
But squareheads is great.
Loopy cunt. I
also had the thwart that Abyssinian. Which I don't even know if Abyssinian is a real slur either, but it's just something so good about it. Yeah,
it was like Aunt Lou or something.
It was her son. Yeah. She tells Richardson to thwart that Abyssinian, and Richardson's like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah. I like that Dan says this about Captain Turner. He calls him that sea creature looking cocksucker. It's great.
That's good.
Can I have a kind of a strong opinion here. dirt worshippers.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's go with dirt worshippers because it captures the slur. And then my other top can move to best quote.
Yeah, exactly. That's such a good one.
But at least I got to get the Jane's "Don't tusk me to death with your tusks."
That's great. All right, now we have best anti-Semitic slur, which is different than insult slur. And I thought this was and I blame my people, this was a hard one to just research.
Yeah.
You know, like I couldn't find like the really good ones. Like I feel like there should be like 20 from Trixie alone, and I have none from Trixie. And like this is like I should have like I know we've talked about them on the episodes.
The problem is that they're always said in a kind of loving way, and so they don't come across as super slurry. But she refers to him as her Jew a lot.
Yeah,
you know,
I like that. Yeah, that's actually one of mine. Is just get the Jew. Yeah. You know, where they talk about Saul, like Al would just kind of casually toss up, get the Jew. Yeah. And when he sees Trixie and he says, "How's the Jew fucking?"
Yeah. So good. Okay, I have one that's like genuinely anti-Semitic moment, and that is when Hearst is signing the contract.
Oh yeah.
He's annoyed that they want to like make sure that everything's signed well and that the gold's purity is assayed. He goes, "Have the gold seen her, Bank Newman, have its purity assayed, let her or her seconds choose the man. When that tedium is completed, have the documents witnessed as though we were all of us Jews, and bring the business back to me." And then he turns to Saul and says, "Excuse my absence, Mr. Stars. I hope you'll forgive my thoughtless aspersion on your race." But that one was just like from the bones anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Yep. And you know, I think Saul, what did he say about Al after one of his things? Like, "I've been called worse by better."
By better. Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
Like he just always takes it in stride. All right, I have one unlike that one because you are clearly just love to get this off your chest,
you know,
in a kind of safe environment.
I just turned to my network.
Yeah,
you know,
right. It's just like, you have whole message boards of
it's
best
like,
anti-Semitic slurs. This is one that's tossed off with affection. I think it comes from Al to Saul when Al is trying to get people to come to his place. I forget for what, and Saul gets it. He gets why Al wants to have everyone meet, and Al looks at him and he goes, "Centuries of fucking inbreeding attune him to the necessities of the times."
That's good. That's so funny.
And he means that, and then he goes like, "Great work here about the hardware store." Like, I think that's from Mr. Wu, like, or maybe it's, I think it's from like Al's just out and about, like gathering forces. Yeah.
Mine is Al, and I'm trying to remember what had happened here. But he says,
I think we have the same one here.
"Wave a penny."
Yeah.
Yeah. "Wave a penny under the Jew's nose. If they've got living breath in them, it brings them right round."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one. I would go with either of those.
Well, I have another one.
Oh, you have another one. Good.
Yeah. In fact, my favorite.
Okay, good.
It is EB when he's giving his speech for mayor. And he's running against Saul Starr, and he just throughout makes anti-Semitic comments. But his ending line is,
"Clear choice for Deadwood. Farnham, twice measured. Starr, once cut."
"Farnham, twice measured. Starr, once cut."
All right, I'll go with that one. That's a good one.
It's clever, very clever. Remember when he does the nose thing? He's whoosh.
Yeah. Like as if people didn't get it. Like, and no one's really paying attention or listening. It's very funny. All right, we are now to best quote.
This was such a hard one.
This was a hard one.
Yeah.
All right, should I go first?
Go for it.
So this is one that I remember, you know, even if I haven't watched the show for a few years, like I know this is coming and I know I love it. Al is talking to Merrick. Merrick has just had his place ransacked, and he's been roughed up by some of Walcott's men and Hearst's men. Yeah. And this is in the episode EB was left out, middle of season 2. Al's like, "Are you dead?" And Merrick says, "Well, I'm in pain, but no, obviously I'm not dead."
So, including last night, that's 3 fucking damage incidents that didn't kill you. Pain or damage don't end the world. or despair or fucking beatings. The world ends when you're dead. Until then, you got more punishment in store. Stand it like a man and give some back.
So good.
Yeah.
And he starts out slapping him, and Merrick's like really hurt by it.
So surprised. He's, ow.
Yeah. And then by the end, Merrick feels like he got the fire back in him. Like that's the power of Al here.
Yeah.
You know, like he does something, but this is a lesson. This is like the lesson we all need. We all need Al to say this to us.
Yep.
When
so
we're
true.
feeling like the world is attacking us and it's so unfair. You know, like this is wisdom.
And it's also just true. The world ends when you're dead. Like that's how the world ends for everybody.
Yeah. And until then, like, you just got to take it like a man,
Yeah.
you know? It really is Al's philosophy of life, like right here, you know, like give a little back, don't take too much shit. And when you have to, take it. Just don't whine about it.
Yeah. I've used this as an opening for Very Bad Wizards for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That was definitely on my list. I think that was the second one. Okay. My third one was, I'll tell you what, I may have fucked my life up flatter than hammered shit, but I stand before you today beholden to no human cocksucker.
Ellsworth.
That's Ellsworth to Al. First episode.
I put that clip in the last episode, like
you did.
Of Deadwood, or maybe the one where he dies. I forget, but yeah, that's such a great one.
So
and
good.
that's announces the show almost.
Yeah.
Like I think when you think of the pilot, you kind of this is what this show is going to be.
Yeah.
Because again, it is I stand beholden to no human cocksucker. That's kind of the ethos of the show that they have to mature out of to a degree.
Mm-hmm. And Ellsworth specifically matures right out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Great one. Yeah. All right. I'm just going to give my EB ones. I have 3.
Okay.
And like, that's not anywhere near enough. First one. This is after he's been elected mayor. August commencement to my administration. Standing stymied outside a saloon next to a degenerate tit licker.
So good. I think about August commencement all the time.
Yeah. That's a very EB way of trying to say, like, oh, we're off to a good start.
That's great.
Yeah. I had.
Could you have been born, Richardson, and not egg-hatched as I've always assumed? Did your mother hover over you, snaggle-toothed and doting as you now hover over me?
I wish I would have been there when Milch presumably wrote it, just to see the spirit of God enter his soul and just like take pen to paper.
And manifest itself perfectly in EB. Like, I think they're like both him and Ian McShane and EB, like those are the perfect people to say the words that you're writing for them. Like, it's incredible.
It's like Gabriel to Muhammad.
Yes. I think. This is EB's talking to Hearst when he's having you remember the episode where he kind of has diarrhea and Hearst asks him something and he says, "Allow me a moment's silence, Mr. Hearst, sir. I am having a digestive crisis and must focus on its suppression."
So good. Oh my God.
All right. Those are my 3 EB ones. I have 2 more, but what are your other ones if you have any?
Okay. My other one is Jane when she says every day takes figuring out all over again on how to fucking live. It's just deep wisdom.
Yeah. Sometimes the show would just give you like the perfect phrase to describe like a character and then also just an aspect of life.
Yeah. And then I had one that I just had to put in here. I don't think it deserves to win, but the delivery makes me laugh every single time is when Jewel says to Al, "I'm knocked up."
Yeah, and Al's like, what? What the fuck? Yeah.
It's when she was going to dock. I think it was in Jewel's boot was made for walking.
Yeah. Okay, this is just kind of a classic. Like, you'll find this on lists, but this is early Al after there was news of that the Norwegian family or the Scandinavian family that had been killed except for Sophia. And he says,
That's all I say on that subject. Sickness rounds on the house. God rest the souls of that poor family. Amen. And pussy's half price next 15 minutes.
That's so good. Oh God, it's so good. Talk about sacred and profane.
Yep, exactly.
Not that pussy isn't sacred, but you know what I mean.
I always thought it was. All right. So what do we choose here?
Man.
Do we go with could you have been born and not egghead?
That one's so good. It's just less wise, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe the Merrick one.
Yeah.
I think it should be
My heart
that
goes
one.
to the Merrick one, yeah.
All right, the Ambie goes to Al, giving Merrick the talk that we all need to get from somebody.
From time to time.
Yep. All right, that's the Ambie for best quote. Now we have best episode. One of the ones I felt least good about.
Me too. Isn't it so weird?
Yeah.
In fact, as I was making my list, I was like, I don't believe my own list.
No.
Because if we went back and listened to all of our episodes, like maybe we could see which ones we were most enthused about.
No, that's right. That's the thing that drove me crazy is I know like there are certain episodes where we probably said this is my favorite episode, maybe, or this is a top 3. This is a Mount Rush. And I don't remember what those were.
I know. It feels like betraying ourselves.
Yeah. And so now I feel like I'm just doing ones that I cobbled together from like reading synopses and other lists. But I do feel good about, I think, the one that I think is probably the best episode.
Yeah. I think I do too. Well, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
So I'll just toss one out. EB was left out. It is a great episode.
That's a great episode.
The title is referring to when they all get together to have a town hall meeting without EB.
All right. I have one that's kind of like that in that it revolves around a meeting, and it's from season 3, Unauthorized Cinema.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best episodes about the town. Al is still struggling to find his footing, and because he's only a few episodes out from having his finger cut off, and he kind of needs the community to be there more than ever. They need to figure out how to deal with the fact that this Cornishman was murdered for trying to unionize or something like that, and they just come through for Al, the town. Like Bullock comes through, and it's like such a weird twist almost at the meeting when they end up just deciding to publish a letter that Bullock wrote to the Cornishman's relatives, which is not clear, like strategically, what that's going to do in their battle against Hearst, but it just seems like the decent thing to do. And they all just kind of, without even really understanding themselves why everyone was just like, okay, yeah, we do that.
I know.
It's like when all else fails, do the decent thing, like just do the right thing and see. It's a really nice episode. It's also where Jewel puts unauthorized cinnamon on the table. And I think Harry is the
this is definitely
victim.
Yeah. Yeah, great episode. It was under consideration for me. I don't know why I included or didn't include. Plague for me, season 1, episode 6. This has just that great part where Bullock fights the Lakota warrior and is like near death because he was tracking Jack McCall.
That's another one of those fights.
Yeah. And by the end, Charlie finds him, and it's just a nice moment between he and Charlie, and they like respectfully bury him according to his traditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful episode.
Yeah.
And one of the very few that a lot of it takes place outside Deadwood. That almost never happens.
Yeah.
And it might be the only episode actually where that happens.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I can't think of anything else where they ever leave. All right, my next one, this is my number 2, is the first episode of season 2. This is where Bullock is kind of facing his demons, his guilt, his lust for Alma. He has this kind of loud sex with Alma while Isringhausen and Sophia are trying to eat breakfast.
This is a lie agreed upon part 1.
Yeah, lie agreed upon part 1. And his rage. That's the number one thing, his rage. And, this is where the fight with Al off the balcony comes in. So, yeah, the episode's called Lie Agreed Upon because of a quote from Napoleon, I guess. History is a lie agreed upon. The way this 2-episode arc ends, it's like that's going to apply very personally to so many different characters, including Seth and Martha. Essentially, they're going to agree upon the lie that he didn't have this affair with Alma. But it's really interesting after the finale where things kind of ended on a nice note. Now things are really bad. And clearly Bullock just can't deal with his kind of two-faced attitudes about being the sheriff, but also, having this thing with Alma. And he's so frustrated. And Al is so frustrated with Bullock. He's like, just do your fucking job. Like, we need you to actually do your job, and you're too construct to like do it properly. And they both just can't calibrate like how annoyed they are with each other. And it just leads to this incredible fight, so many fights that we've talked about, but like the one with the Native American, this one, and then the one with Captain Turner and Dan, they're just these real bare knuckled, like brutal fights that last longer than you think any fight would in a TV show. And then ending then with Martha and the boy and the whores coming and welcome to fucking Deadwood.
Yeah.
Can be a little combative.
Definitely on my list. In fact, it was tough because as we struggled with when we were doing episode by episode, you kind of want to include the parts 1 and 2 sometimes as one. And so I agreed upon part 1 and part 2 together.
Yeah, they should win, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
No.
I'll say my other.
Yeah, no, I disagree with that. Yeah.
My top really is, okay, if you don't let me give the 2 episodes, then I'll have to pick one of these. But Jules' Boots Made for Walking and Sold Under Sin as a package.
Sold Under Sin is my number 1.
Yeah, Sold Under Sin would be my number 1 too. It's just Jules' Boot is Made for Walking is, you can't tell Sold Under Sin without it. And Jules' Boot is Made for Walking is the one that ends, of course, with the scene that we picked for best scene. Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it's tough.
So I would say Sold Under Sin, given that we honored Jules' Boot was Made for Walking with an AMBIE already. So maybe we do Sold Under Sin. Okay. So, yeah. I think this is the best episode of Deadwood.
I think it is too.
This is where Bullock starts to think maybe he should be sheriff. Yeah. Like Khan is now sheriff and he's just corrupt. Bullock sees it and gets really angry and rips his badge down. And Tom Nuttall I appreciated more going back into this because he had a lot of good lines.
Yeah.
In fact, he's the owner of an AMBIE, but like he had helped Khan get the job. And then when he sees him doing this, he's like, leave it there, you bought out son of a bitch. Then Seth wants to get Dan and Al to kill Alma's father because he's extorting his daughter. He probably raped his daughter, or definitely, I think we learn. And so he's basically passive aggressively trying to get them to do that. And then when Dan tries to be like, so just so I have this clear, you want an accident, and then he has the nerve to say, I don't swim in that shit to Dan. And then Dan has this great line after that. I would have put this in best quote, but like I knew I was going to talk about it here. He says, he looks at the badge and he says, you should pin that on your chest. You're hypocrite enough to wear it.
No, so good.
Yeah.
So good. I also love when he goes to Saul and says, what kind of man have I become? And Saul says, I don't know. Day ain't fucking over.
Another bit of wisdom.
Yeah.
You know, we have the tragic death of Magistrate Claggett at the hands of your boy, Silas. And then this is, Al killing the Reverend because nobody else would.
I love when the general tells Bullock, we all have bloody thoughts.
The general?
Yeah, it's at dinner in the...
Oh, the actual general that's coming in, not the...
No, sorry, not the N-word general. Yeah. General Crook.
Yeah.
And he just says, we all have bloody thoughts. And you can tell that kind of gets to Seth. This is something that Seth struggles with.
Yeah, because he judges himself. He feels like he's not doing his duty, and at least the general is trying to say it's okay to have the thoughts. It's just bad for it to turn into action.
Yeah.
So then you have the scene which we already talked about with the mercy killing of the Reverend, and then it ends with Doc and Jewel dancing in her new boot. It's like, I
love when Jewel says, say I'm nimble as a forest creature.
Yeah.
To the Doc. You're nimble as a forest creature.
And just the way she gets him on the dance floor, like that's the only way I'm getting out there. I need to be like cajoled.
It is so peak Deadwood, and not that the rest of it isn't at ceiling, but like, God.
Yeah. And Bullock just decides, all right, I'm going to be sheriff. You know, that's a nice conclusion to that arc of the season. Like he was running away from it. But he now realizes if I'm going to be in this community, I can't have people like that doing the job that I'm clearly most qualified for. That's why it's so interesting that the next season, like all of that is just kind of fucked right away. You know, he takes the badge off and fights Al when he fights him. So.
And Al fights dirty.
Yep. I really also like season 2 finale, The Boy the Earth Talks To. We get Hearst, the killing of Lee. And I also love Mr. Wu, the 10th episode. There's so many great ones.
So many good ones. But it was crazy how many of my favorites were season 1.
Yeah. So Sold Under Sin gets the Ambie?
The Ambie goes to... Sold Under Sin.
Season 1 finale. All right. We are down to best character other than Al. The Ambie. Because Al, if you had to choose a best character, it's not close.
Al is the R, the S, the T, the L, the N, and the E.
Did you go back and look at when we did this for Patreon?
No.
I wonder if we listed them in the notes.
Yeah, fuck. I totally forgot. Well, I didn't forget. Well...
Where are you going with that?
Let's just say that when you said it, I remembered.
This is like a thing that when you get older, everything is like a possibly you're going crazy.
Totally.
You know, you're just trying to think, no, that's normal.
Am I just convincing myself that,
I do remember each of our number ones. So it'll be interesting to see if that changes.
Okay, let's just get this done then. This is so fucking hard. They're all like my children. I love them equally.
I love them so much.
And I got Trixie up there. You got Trixie?
Of course I have Trixie.
Yeah,
I love Trixie.
Okay. What do you got?
I have EB.
EB. I got EB. I have Charlie.
Yep, I have Charlie. So I have Charlie, I have Doc, I have Jane. I think Jane's got to go on it, actually.
Yeah.
And then Dan and Hearst, but I think actually, no. I'm like, my 5 are EB, Trixie, Doc, Charlie, and Jane.
My exact top 5.
Is it really?
Exactly. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, not in that order, but but I didn't list them really in order. Okay. Push comes to shove. I would have to say after this watch, my heart says, what does my heart say? I'm torn because I love Doc. I think Doc is one of the best characters, but I think EB is just the answer that I would be most honest in giving.
Yeah, so EB...
With Jane is a close second, though. Fuck.
That's what I was going to say. So first of all, EB was your number 1 last time.
Yeah.
And Trixie was my number 1 last time. And I would say on this watch, I still love Trixie. I don't think she's number 1 anymore. I think it's between EB and Jane. And I almost want to go with Jane, even though EB is one of the most entertaining characters. I think there's something about that performance. And like she's playing kind of a drunk and a repressed lesbian. Think of how many ways that could go wrong. And your heart is always going out to her. And when she has someone she can care for, like in the Plague episodes, or when she's taking care of the Reverend, or when she's taking care of Mose, like it's just the range of that performance and that character, I think, is so beautiful. So,
and she is more important to more of the characters.
Yeah.
I would have zero problem with Jane. I think
it's like 1 and 1A with EB for me. But
EB is just so entertaining. Like if you think Deadwood minus this person, I could do minus a lot of people and still think that it is Deadwood. I couldn't do it without Jane or EB.
No, definitely not. Or Trixie, really. Or actually none of them.
Yeah, right.
And Dan also. We haven't even talked about Johnny, but I love Johnny.
I know there's so many people deserving of this, but let's go with our gut and go with Jane.
Right, go with Jane. That's interesting. I'm so glad because, she is the best. EB is the most entertaining character, but Jane is part of the beating heart of the show in a way that I think EB isn't, maybe, in terms of just the heart.
Yeah, right. And like you said, what a performance.
Unbelievable.
Just incredible. I don't know
Paula
how these people
Malcolmson,
did
right?
this.
Yeah.
Robin Weiger.
Oh, sorry, Robin Weiger. Paula Malcolmson is Trixie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robin Weiger. Incredible.
Right. The Ambie goes to best character other than Al, Jane.
Jane.
By Robin Weiger.
She'll give a good speech. I would love to be called a cocksucker by
I'd love to be called a fucking circus elephant.
Yeah. All right. Well, we do have one more category.
Bonus,
as it turned
bonus
out.
category as we're
Bonus
prone to
category. No, I think this is like we've been building to this.
It's true.
This is the best sex worker. This is something I would say this was one that we have been keeping up with over the course of the Ambulators. We've kind of highlighted who we liked the best.
Yeah.
All right. You want to give your nominees?
Well, as I was thinking about who to include in this, I realized that there is no number 2 and number 3 for me. I can't, in all honesty, go anything other than my favorite, my wonderful, the person who brings light to my existence. Lila.
Yeah, no question. She's the winner of the Ambie.
But we can talk. We could talk.
We could talk, but Lila is my second one is Tess, who was kind of Lila's replacement.
Yeah. And obviously Trixie's not in this.
No. Yeah. Right. No. I have Dolly there because
I was
like
going to
Dolly.
say, I think I might have put Dolly as my number 2 just because she's sweet.
She's sweet and she is very important now. I mean, you see that I think even in the finale, she really cares about him.
Yeah.
And I think he cares about her in Al's way, you know.
She deserved to be in the movie.
She didn't make my list, but I have to mention Jen, who I really liked. Oh, and let me also mention Kristen Bell. What was her character's name?
Yeah, I was just thinking
something with an F. Flora. Yeah. She was good.
That was one of the rare brief appearances of a guest that actually stuck the landing.
Yeah. We could have done worst subplots. That was another.
Yeah.
That was another category that I thought of, but off the top of my head, Doc's having tuberculosis and then just not having it. Yeah, obviously the herbs.
The herbs, obviously. The weird ass guy who comes in to give swatches for Al's broken finger.
I enjoyed that one just because it was Lynchian and
so
the absurdity
weird.
of it.
There are a few people who we haven't mentioned, and I feel like people will ask us why. We made no mention of Joni throughout this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I got to say, I don't regret that. I mean,
I like Joni.
Yeah.
She had her moments.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to play a depressed character that's just mostly depressed and has a kind of a slight whine to her voice every time she talks. But there were definitely some times where I was very moved by her performance and her character.
No, yeah, she was good. Just the others were great.
Yeah.
Langreich deserves a shout out because
absolutely
he killed what little he was given to do.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Who else? Hostetler, I think.
Hostetler, yeah.
That was a good performance. Aunt Lou. I would say in the worst subplot category, you could put Odell's. Probably.
Yeah.
Not that it was a good performance. It just you know what? Actually, one of the scenes that I came across doing research for this is when he's with Odell in the thoroughfare and he actually starts crying because of how much of an outcast he is from the rest of the community.
Wait, who starts crying?
Hearst.
Oh.
And he says it's so silly. I've known forever how my fellow men will see me and I've come to terms with that and here I am crying. And it struck me that's probably why he killed him. It's because he saw him in Odell saw him in that vulnerable moment. I just when we first saw that episode, I don't think either of us remembered that he died. So I didn't think of that.
No, that's good. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
You mentioned Hearst for one of the categories, but it was just hard. We didn't have a villain category, but Hearst and Walcott both acted the shit out of their performances too. I just didn't like Walcott, but that's to his credit.
Yeah, I mean, Garrett Dillahunt is so good in that role, and Gerald McRaney as Hearst, I think, is like phenomenal,
incredible,
like a real, true. Not one of these anti-heroes that you're like, you said this, I think, in a recent episode, not one of these anti-heroes that you kind of find yourself rooting for. No, he's like a villainous man, but still had a kind of charisma and even like a kind of vulnerability sometimes that was so compelling.
That's right. He's villainous without being caricatured, which I think is hard to do. It's hard to both humanize somebody and make us really dislike them as a villain, because you run the risk of people getting on their side. But whatever Milch did there, it was never under like any concern that I would come around to Hearst. We feel sorry for him, but
at times you can, like, you almost feel weird about it. But and I don't think we mentioned Cy at all.
No, we didn't. Yeah,
I think he has some great moments in the show, though, some really good scenes, but that just the character just never progressed at all.
I know. But he's also there's just no bad actors here. Like, where the fuck did they get all
Powers? They get Powers Booth.
Powers Booth.
His daughter, who plays Tess, who I think might be runner-up for the AMBIES Best Sex Worker. So, well, I'm sorry you're sick and you can't drink bourbon, but here's to
the Ambulators.
The Ambulators and Deadwood and Milch and all the wonderful people who worked on that show. Just an absolute masterpiece. And I'll go back to this show for the rest of my life, like probably like every few years. Like it's gonna be like
I wish we could thank Milch personally, you know?
Mm-hmm. Just an incredible expression. Like it does feel like his art kind of peaked here. Yeah. All right. We should wrap up.
We can't say join us next time on the Ambulators.
No. Oh, I should have written something for this.
I know.
Thank you for listening to the Ambulators.
The Ambulators. Beholden to no human cocksuckers.
The Cleveland boss has spoken. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Who are you? Who are you? A very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Good man. They think deep thoughts, and with no more brains than you have.
Pay no attention to that man.
Anybody can have a brain.
You're a very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Just a very bad wizard.